And if a crisis begins in the Strait of Hormuz, could the F-35 stop it before the first tanker is hit? Before we dive in, tap like if you believe peace is worth protecting, subscribe for more deep military analysis, and share this with someone who thinks one narrow stretch of water cannot affect the entire world. The Strait of Hormuz is small on a map. At its narrowest point, it is only about 21 miles wide. But this thin strip of water connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the wider world. Every day, huge oil tankers, gas carriers, cargo ships, naval vessels, and fishing boats pass through it. A major part of the world's oil exports moves through this route. Liquefied natural gas from Qatar also depends heavily on this passage. If the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, slowed, mined, attacked, or even threatened, energy prices can rise within hours. Markets panic. Shipping companies reroute vessels. Insurance costs explode. Countries thousands of miles away begin to feel the pressure. That is what makes the strait more than a local waterway. It is an economic pressure point for the entire planet, and sitting on the northern side of that pressure point is Iran. For decades, Iran has built its military strategy around one hard truth. It cannot easily match the United States in conventional military power. It does not have a fleet of giant aircraft carriers. It does not operate the same number of advanced fighter jets, long-range bombers, or global naval bases. But Iran does not need to defeat the United States in a traditional war to create a global crisis. It only needs to make the Strait of Hormuz dangerous. Iran has invested in fast attack boats, coastal missile batteries, sea mines, drones, submarines, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and armed proxy groups. Its forces do not need to sink every ship in the Gulf. They only need to create enough uncertainty that commercial traffic slows down or stops. That is the central tension. The United States and its partners want to keep the waterway open without triggering a war. Iran wants to show that it has the power to disrupt global trade if it feels threatened, cornered, or attacked. Every military move in the region becomes a signal. Every aircraft deployment can be read as deterrence, preparation, or provocation. This is where the F-35 enters the picture. The F-35 is often described as a stealth fighter. That is true, but it is incomplete. Its real value is not simply that it is harder to detect on radar. Its value is that it can collect, process, and share information at high speed. In a place like the Strait of Hormuz, information can matter more than firepower. Imagine a tense night in the Persian Gulf. A tanker reports that several small boats are moving in its direction. A radar station picks up an unusual aircraft launch. A drone is seen near a shipping route. A coastal missile unit suddenly becomes active. A warship receives a warning that mines may have been placed in the water. In a crisis, commanders do not just need weapons. They need to know what is real. Are the small boats armed? Are they Iranian naval forces, smugglers, fishermen, or civilian traffic? Is the drone watching, targeting, or preparing to attack? Is the missile battery conducting an exercise or locking onto a ship? Is a radar signal coming from a real threat, a decoy, or electronic interference? The F-35 was built for this kind of complicated environment. Its sensors can scan the air, land, and sea. Its radar can detect and track targets. Its infrared systems can identify heat signatures from aircraft, vehicles, missile launches, and ships. Its electronic warfare systems can help locate enemy radars and communication signals. Then, instead of leaving every piece of information separate, the aircraft combines it into a clearer picture for the pilot. This is called sensor fusion. For the pilot, it can mean less confusion and faster decisions. For nearby ships, aircraft, command centers, and allied forces, it can mean earlier warning. That matters in the Strait of Hormuz because everything happens close together. There are civilian ships, military ships, patrol boats, drones, helicopters, fighter jets, missiles, radar stations, commercial aircraft, flying above. The waterway is crowded even during peaceful times. In a crisis, that crowd can become chaos. A traditional military response might involve sending more warships into the area. That can help. But large warships are visible. Their movements are tracked. Their presence can be powerful, but it can also make them targets. The F-35 offers a different kind of presence. It may be operating somewhere in the region, but an opponent may not know exactly where. It can gather information without announcing itself in the same way as a large naval task force. It can observe, identify, and help track threats before those threats reach a tanker or a warship. That uncertainty can change calculations. If an Iranian missile unit believes it can prepare an attack without being seen, it may take more risks. If it believes an F-35 could already be watching its radar missions, its launch vehicles, or its command network, it may hesitate. Deterrence often begins with hesitation. The goal is not always to destroy an enemy target. Sometimes the goal is to make the enemy doubt whether an attack will succeed. The F-35's stealth features are important because Iran has developed layered air defense systems. These include radar networks, surface-to-air missile systems, mobile launchers, and air defense units that can move locations. Iran also operates aircraft and has worked to improve its ability to detect low observable targets. No aircraft is invisible. Stealth does not mean magic. It means an aircraft is more difficult to find, track, and engage, especially when it is using smart tactics, electronic warfare, planning, and support from other forces. In a conflict near the Strait of Hormuz, the F-35 could be used to enter dangerous airspace with a lower chance of detection than older aircraft. That could allow it to identify missile launchers, mobile radar vehicles, command centers, drone sites, or naval forces preparing for an attack. But the mission would not necessarily begin with bombs. The first mission could be watching. The second could be warning. The third could be proving that an attack would not remain hidden. That alone might prevent a crisis from growing. Consider the threat of anti-ship missiles. Iran has spent years developing weapons designed to threaten ships in the Persian Gulf and nearby waters. Some can be launched from land. Others can come from aircraft, ships, or mobile launch vehicles. Some may fly low over the water, making them harder to detect. Others can be used in large numbers to overwhelm defenses. For a tanker captain, the threat is terrifying. A tanker is enormous, slow, and difficult to protect by itself. For a navy, the challenge is not only stopping the missile after it is fired. It is finding the launcher before it fires. This is where the F-35 could make a major difference. If it can identify the radar, vehicle, communication signal, or movement connected to a missile battery, it can help Allied forces build a target picture. A nearby destroyer, submarine, surveillance aircraft, drone, or command center could receive that information. The F-35 may not even need to launch a weapon itself. It can become part of a larger network that sees the threat early and responds quickly. That network is one of the most important parts of modern warfare. The F-35 is not meant to fight alone. It is designed to connect with other systems. It can work with ships carrying missile defense systems. It can support early warning aircraft. It can share data with ground-based air defense units. It can help direct other fighters. It can contribute to a wider picture of the battlefield. In the Strait of Hormuz, that could mean a U.S. Navy destroyer receives better information about a possible missile launch. It could mean a regional ally sees a drone swarm before it reaches a vulnerable target. It could mean a command center can separate civilian traffic from military threats more quickly. Speed matters because mistakes become deadly in crowded waters. A false identification could lead to an attack on the wrong target. A delayed identification could allow a real attack to get through. The F-35 cannot remove that danger completely, but it can improve the quality of information available to decision makers. And in a crisis, better information can save lives. There is another reason the F-35 matters in this region. The United States is not the only country flying it. Israel operates the F-35. The United Arab Emirates has long been interested in advanced fighter capabilities, although its F-35 path has faced political obstacles. Other U.S. partners in the wider region operate advanced Western aircraft and integrate closely with American military systems. Beyond the Middle East, the United Kingdom, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and several NATO countries operate or are acquiring the F-35. That creates a wider coalition advantage. The aircraft is not just a platform. It is part of a common system of training, logistics, data sharing, tactics, and communication. In a major emergency, countries that operate similar aircraft may find it easier to coordinate than forces using completely separate systems. Of course, alliances are never automatic. Every country has its own politics, risks, and limits. Some governments may not want to be drawn into a confrontation with Iran. Others may support maritime security but refuse offensive operations. Some may offer bases, intelligence, or refueling rather than combat aircraft. Still, the existence of a shared platform makes cooperation more possible. The Strait of Hormuz is not protected by one country alone. Its security depends on naval patrols, diplomacy, intelligence sharing, regional partnerships, international law, and the willingness of commercial shipping companies to keep moving. The F-35 could strengthen the military side of that equation, but it cannot solve the political side. And that is where the story becomes more complicated, because a more capable military can prevent war, but it can also make leaders feel more confident about taking risks. If an F-35 detects a missile battery preparing for launch, what happens next? Does the United States issue a warning? Does it move ships away? Does it jam the radar? Does it strike the launcher? Does it wait for undeniable proof? What if the launcher is near civilian infrastructure? What if the intelligence is wrong? What if an attack on the launcher triggers a wider Iranian response? Those are not technical questions. They are questions about escalation. The F-35 can give leaders more options, but more options do not always make decisions easier. A fighter jet can find a target in seconds. A president, prime minister, or military commander may have only minutes to decide whether that target should be hit. One wrong judgment could set off a chain reaction across the region. If this kind of strategic breakdown helps you see beyond the headlines, send this video to someone who follows world events. And subscribe now, because the next crisis often starts long before the first missile is launched. One of the biggest fears in the Strait of Hormuz is not a direct air battle. It is a gray zone conflict. Gray zone conflict happens in the space between peace and open war. It includes actions that are hostile but difficult to prove. A ship is harassed by small boats, a tanker is seized, a commercial vessel is boarded, GPS signals are disrupted, a drone flies close to a warship, a cyber attack hits port operations, mines appear in the water, but no one immediately claims responsibility. These actions are dangerous precisely because they create uncertainty. If a country launches a clear missile attack, the response may be easier to justify. But if a tanker is damaged by an unknown explosion, the situation becomes far more difficult. Was it a mine? A sabotage operation? A mechanical failure? A drone strike? A proxy group? A false flag operation? Until the facts are clear, every response carries risk. This is another area where the F-35 sensors and intelligence role could matter. It may be able to monitor activity around coastal areas, track certain movements, detect radar emissions, observe vessels, and help build a timeline of events. It cannot see everything. Weather, geography, civilian activity, camouflage, and electronic deception all create limits. But better surveillance can reduce the chances that a hostile actor succeeds in hiding. That is important, because attribution is power. If the world can quickly identify who attacked a ship, it becomes harder for that attacker to deny responsibility. Diplomatic pressure increases. Allies can coordinate. Commercial operators can make informed decisions. A response can be more targeted rather than reckless. Iran understands this game very well. It has often relied on ambiguity, deniability, and indirect pressure. Its leaders know that an obvious attack on international shipping could unite many countries against them, but actions that remain uncertain can create fear without producing a clear international response. The F-35 does not eliminate ambiguity. It may, however, make ambiguity harder to maintain. Now think about drones. Drones have transformed modern conflict. They are cheap compared to fighter jets. They can be used for surveillance, targeting, deception, or attack. Some can fly low, some can swarm, some can carry explosives, some can act as decoys, forcing air defenses to reveal their positions or waste expensive missiles. Iran has invested heavily in drone technology, and Iranian-designed drones have appeared in conflicts far beyond the Gulf. That matters because a future crisis in the Strait of Hormuz may not begin with ships or fighter jets. It may begin with unmanned aircraft. A drone swarm aimed at a tanker, port, naval base, or warship could create panic even if only a few drones get through. The F-35 could help detect, track, and classify drones at range. It could use its sensors to distinguish a small drone from other objects in a crowded environment. It could pass targeting information to ships, ground defenses, or other aircraft. But drones also create a problem for expensive fighters. Using a multi-million-dollar aircraft to chase cheap drones is not always efficient. The F-35 may be best used as the high-end sensor and command node, while other systems handle the actual interceptions. Destroyers may use missiles. Ground forces may use guns, lasers, or electronic jammers. Smaller aircraft may handle lower-level patrols. This shows how the F-35 could shape security without becoming the only answer. It could become the eyes and brain of a wider defense system. Another threat is the sea mine. Mines are old weapons, but they remain frighteningly effective. A mine does not need to destroy a ship to create a crisis. The mere suspicion of mines can shut down a route. Ships may wait for clearance. Mine countermeasure vessels must search carefully. Insurance companies may refuse coverage. Tankers may choose safer but longer routes. In the Strait of Hormuz, even a limited mining campaign could have massive economic effects. The F-35 cannot sweep mines from the water. It cannot replace specialized mine hunting ships, helicopters, divers, underwater drones, or sonar systems. But it could help monitor the areas where mines might be laid. It could watch for suspicious vessels. It could identify movements from coastal facilities. It could help track fast boats leaving ports at unusual hours. Again, the value is not just destruction. It is early awareness. If Allied forces can identify a mining attempt before mines are deployed, they may stop the operation without closing the strait. If they discover the threat late, the costs become much higher. The same logic applies to Iranian fast attack craft. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy has often emphasized small, fast vessels. These boats can operate in groups. They can move quickly, they can carry missiles, rockets, machine guns, or explosives. They can approach large warships and commercial vessels at close range. In narrow waters, they can use numbers and speed to create confusion. A single large warship is powerful, but it cannot be everywhere at once. And in a crowded maritime environment, commanders must be careful. A small boat may be hostile, but it may also be civilian. The difference can be difficult to see from far away. The F-35 could help by offering a broader view. From the air, it may be able to track boat formations, identify unusual patterns, and provide a warning before a swarm reaches a ship. It could help commanders decide whether a group of boats is simply moving through the area or forming an attack pattern. That kind of awareness could prevent a situation from turning violent. But there is a dangerous flip side. If Iran believes F-35s are watching its coast, its ships, and its missile units, it may try harder to blind or confuse them. It could use electronic warfare. It could move equipment more often. It could rely on decoys. It could keep radar switched off until the last moment. It could spread out launchers. It could use underground sites, civilian-looking vehicles, and proxy forces. Military technology creates countermeasures. Countermeasures create new technology. The cycle never stops. Iran may also try to challenge the F-35 directly. It could use radar systems designed to detect stealth aircraft. It could share information between different radar types. It could use passive sensors that listen for electronic signals rather than sending radar waves. It could employ fighter aircraft, surface-to-air missiles, and electronic attacks to make the airspace more dangerous. The F-35 would not operate carelessly. It would need support from intelligence systems, refueling aircraft, command centers, naval forces, and other aircraft. Its missions would depend on planning, timing, weather, fuel, weapons load, and political permission. This is important because public discussions often treat advanced weapons as if they guarantee victory. They do not. The F-35 is highly capable, but it is not invulnerable. It has maintenance demands. It needs secure bases. It depends on trained crews and reliable logistics. It must operate in a region where missiles can threaten airfields and where political access to bases may change quickly. If a crisis becomes a major war, Iran could target regional air bases with ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. It could attack fuel storage, runways, communication systems, and support facilities. Even the most advanced fighter cannot operate if its runway is damaged, its supply chain is disrupted, or its base is under constant attack. That means F-35 operations in the region would require a much larger defense effort. Patriot systems, Thayad batteries, naval missile defenses, hardened shelters, dispersal plans, runway repair teams, cyber defenses, and logistics networks all become part of the same picture. The F-35 may be a key piece, but it is only one piece. The real question is not, can the F-35 defeat Iran? The real question is, can the F-35 help prevent Iran from successfully closing or threatening the Strait of Hormuz? That is a more realistic question, and the answer is more nuanced. Deterrence is not always dramatic. It is often invisible. It is the attack that never happens because the attacker believes the cost will be too high. Still, deterrence can fail. A local commander may miscalculate. A drone may be mistaken for a threat. A radar lock may be misunderstood. A small boat may get too close to a warship. A warning shot may lead to return fire. A limited clash may trigger political pressure for a larger response. The Strait of Hormuz has a long history of dangerous moments. Tankers have been attacked. Ships have been seized. Drones have been shot down. Naval vessels have had close encounters. Regional tensions have repeatedly pushed the area toward confrontation. The lesson is simple. This is not a theoretical danger. A crisis could happen quickly. And the F-35 could be involved not because anyone wants war, but because military forces in the region are always trying to prepare for the possibility that war arrives anyway. There is also a psychological side to this aircraft. The F-35 sends a message when it is deployed. It tells allies that the United States can bring advanced capabilities into the region. It tells opponents that their air defenses, command networks, and missile forces may be vulnerable. It tells commercial shipping companies that major powers are watching the sea lanes, but messages can be read in different ways. Washington may see a deployment as defensive reassurance. Tehran may see it as preparation for a strike. Regional allies may see it as a promise of protection. Hardline groups may see it as proof that they need to act before they are attacked. This is why military power without diplomacy is dangerous. The F-35 can make deterrence stronger, but deterrence needs communication. Opponents need to understand what actions will trigger a response. Allies need to know what support they can expect. Civilian shipping companies need reliable guidance. Military commanders need rules that reduce the chance of accidental escalation. Without those things, even advanced technology can become part of the problem. Here is a possible scenario. Tensions rise after a political dispute between Iran and the United States. Iranian leaders announce naval exercises near the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial ships are warned to remain cautious. Insurance rates rise immediately. Several tankers slow down or wait outside the Gulf. Then, an F-35 on patrol detects unusual activity near a coastal site. Mobile launch vehicles have moved into position. A radar system begins operating for short periods. Several fast boats leave a nearby port. At the same time, drones appear near a shipping lane. The F-35 sends information to a command center. A destroyer changes position. A surveillance aircraft is redirected. Tankers receive an updated warning. Regional air defenses become more alert. Diplomats send urgent messages through military and political channels. Because the activity was detected early, the situation does not have to end with a missile strike. The United States can signal that it is watching. Iran can understand that surprise has been lost. Both sides may step back. Success might simply mean tankers continue moving, markets calm down, and the public never learns how close the region came to disaster. But there is another possible scenario, naval vessels have, and it is much darker. Depending on what you think protects the Strait of Hormuz more, then share this video so more people understand what is at stake. But there is another possible scenario, and it is much darker. An F-35 detects activity that appears hostile. Commanders believe an anti-ship missile launch may be imminent. They authorize a strike against a radar vehicle or missile launcher. Iran responds by firing missiles at a regional base. The United States responds again. Iranian proxy groups attack shipping or military facilities. Oil exports slow. The strait becomes a war zone. In that scenario, the F-35 may perform exactly as designed. It may detect threats, survive in contested airspace, share data, and strike targets accurately. Destroying a missile launcher may protect ships in the short term. But if the action triggers a larger conflict, shipping may become even more dangerous. A powerful aircraft can win a battle and still be part of a losing political outcome. That is the hard truth behind every discussion of advanced weapons. They are tools. Their consequences depend on how leaders use them. The F-35 could also affect the balance of confidence between countries in the region. Gulf states that feel exposed to Iranian missiles and drones may see advanced aircraft as an important shield. Israel may see F-35 operations as part of a wider effort to monitor Iranian military activity. The United States may see the aircraft as a way to reduce risk to older platforms. Iran, meanwhile, may respond by investing more in missiles, drones, electronic warfare, underground facilities, and air defense systems. It may focus even more on weapons that are difficult to stop and cheap enough to use in large numbers. This creates an arms competition, and the ability to make war look less certain before someone decides to begin it. The Strait of Hormuz will likely remain one of the most sensitive places on Earth. It is where oil, trade, military power, national pride, and political fear all meet in a narrow channel of water. If the next crisis comes, the F-35 could become one of the first systems helping leaders understand what is happening. But whether that understanding leads to calm or catastrophe will still depend on human decisions. Because even in an age of stealth jets, satellites, drones, and artificial intelligence, the most dangerous weapon in the Strait of Hormuz may still be a miscalculation.